What did you impulse buy that you instantly regretted? Ugh, my greatest shame. I bought about $500 worth of diamonds in some dumb mobile game. I was going back and forth with this one other player for first place on our server, and I wanted the edge, so I spent $100. For a while I had that edge, but then he started spending too. We went back and forth until I finally realized that I was spiraling down the money pit of idiocy. I tried playing free, but it kept getting to me when people would advance past me, and I'd get that itch to spend just another $10 during an event. Finally I realized that I needed to just cut all ties with games like this. It feels so stupid to admit to, and I'd never tell anyone IRL that I did something like that. Hey, that's okay, you aren't the only one. At least you recognize that you had to stop playing to stop spending. Don't feel bad, it's a lesson you've learned now. I bought a drone, flew it for 5 minutes, then wanted to see how high up it would go. It was windy that day and I never saw it again. My dad brewed beer with a buddy of his for years. He stopped for a while and was looking to get rid of the stuff. I bought it off of him for much cheaper than buying from a store. I made beer once. It was okay, not great. The stuff has been gathering dust ever since. The time I spent everything I had on hand for a megaphone immediately comes to mind. I bought a couch online once. It was grey. I immediately decided I wanted a slightly darker grey, so I ordered a new one. I thought I cancelled the first one. Nope. 2 grey couches into a tiny studio flat. Both were custom fabric, so they were not returnable. Whoops. I have 4 couches in a 1-bedroom apartment. One is stashed in my bedroom, pointed at nothing in particular. They were all free though. Board game night is very comfy. A timeshare. Just don't do this ever. We were basically pressured into buying ours. We were told that we'd be able to do all the things with it, shown how we'd actually be able to make money doing it right. Lies. All of it. When we asked for clarification on exactly how we were supposed to do all these things promised to us in our original pitch, we were informed that to do those things, and to be able to book further out, before everything was already taken, we'd have to buy a higher tier. Well, frick us, right? So we started looking at companies who could get you out of a timeshare and settled on one and paid them over $1,000 to do the corresponding for us, which was basically over 6 months of us just telling them to frick off. We're not giving you any more money, was just a huge nightmare. And to all the people stating that it's just stupid people that don't know how to manage one properly, you can frick yourself. These suckers know exactly how to prey on people and use some of the shadiest tactics I've ever seen. If you've got enough money to ignore how much you're losing on one, then consider yourself some of the luckier few. Those of us that got swindled into one because we just wanted to be able to spend more time with our families, and then got the carpet pulled out from us, are sick of hearing how we're just not managing it properly. It's a goddamn scam and I'll be damned if I ever say otherwise. I had an uncle who was stoked to purchase a shipping container sight unseen filled to the brim with furniture which he planned to sell the piece at a time over the course of a few months. He was talking about making at least 8x what he was paying, made the purchase, and then his wife asked the question, where are we going to keep all of this? To my knowledge they still own a storage unit with about half of the furniture 5 years later. Used to work at a storing place. Don't store. 80% of the clients ended up paying way more than the value of the contents. I bought a fish tank and 12 fish when I was just visiting a pet store with my girlfriend literally less than a week ago. $300 and I've never owned a fish. 2 years ago the Toronto Blue Jays were World Series contenders for the first time since 1992. World Series tickets went on sale shortly after Jose Bautista's legendary bat flip. Obviously I couldn't get any tickets directly, so just said frick it and went through a resale site. Prices were insane, but I found 2 seats in the nosebleeds for $500. Okay, frick it, I might never see them in the World Series again, so I buy them. After my payment is processed I realize my error. The ticket price wasn't in Canadian dollars, but US dollars, so I guess I just paid $700 for those seats. Frick, wait a second. My bill says $1,400. What the frick? It was $700 per seat. Frick. I thought I was paying $500. and a button click later it was $1,400. I swear this crappy site never indicated the currency or total price at any point before payment, but it's possible I missed it in my excitement. Anyway, I spent the remainder of the playoffs in confusion on whether I should root for the Blue Jays or against them, because if they don't make it to the World Series I can get my money back. In the end they didn't make, but I still ended up getting charged $50 due to the foreign exchange rate fluctuations during the time I held the tickets. That site was such bulls, but that $50 certainly taught me a lesson, and I'm now extremely careful when buying tickets to anything. I felt very stressed for you while reading that. I had a friend once tell me about a time when he was a kid and got $100 as a birthday gift which he immediately blew on Beanie Babies. Like, he spent it all in one purchase. He told me he was riding home on his bike and started crying because he realized he'd wasted his money. I think about that story a lot. He probably could have gotten a refund. After way too much champagne at the Laguna Champagne Bar in Las Vegas I forgot I was a poorly paid non-profit working counselor and bought a full price, not on sale, not at the outlet Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress. I stare at it occasionally but I'm honest to God terrified to wear it anywhere because on top of the astronomical price it is white. Hire a good pro photographer and do a feel-good shoot of yourself wearing the dress. I saw this website where you could anonymously send eggplants to people for $20. Bought one to send to my sister only to Google the site later and find out it was a scam and I spent $20 on nothing. I think the key takeaway here is that you regret spending $20 on a scam and not the fact that you were willing to spend $20 on sending an anonymous eggplant to your sister. An Audible book on ancient Sumerians after watching one episode of Ancient Aliens and thought I was going to be a historian. You are now actually qualified to be on the show. I once bought a Pokemon card pack and it contained Charizard. I went to show my friend who offered to trade me a Mew card. I accepted. Toys R Us used to have Pokemon weekends where they would give out free cards and whatnot. He invited me to it once. I learned getting a Mew card is very easy. To this day I still feel ripped off. We are no longer friends. Had a friend take my holographic Kabutops saying he would bring me a super rare Mew the next day. He didn't come back to school. He didn't tell me he was moving. The Avatar Blue Alien game for the Wii for $60. If we're talking about the same game, I got it for PS3 and it was a ton of fun. The environment was beautiful. About half of my Steam library, I probably haven't played more than 5 minutes of a lot of the games I have. I blame Humble Bundle. I worked my butt off for 2 weeks at an open air festival, and at the end of those 2 weeks I got a paycheck for like $340. I think I was shortchanged, but I was a young moron so I didn't give a crap. I bought a guitar. I already had a guitar, but I liked the way this one sounded. The remorse was instantaneous. I've had it for years, and I'm not even very good at playing. I can't bring myself to sell it. I get too attached to objects. Well, the thing about buying guitars is that their value doesn't really diminish in time. The only thing that can screw you over is inflation or damaging the instrument. I wouldn't call that a bad purchase, and I'm sure your playing is better than you think. Heelys. At the age of 20, while drunk. I don't see how you can regret that. RC cars. Something breaks every freaking time you run M. As a huge RC enthusiast I have to say it's not a hobby for casual play. Any entry level truck will get you going but I've never had a truck I put less than $750 $1,000 into above the price of the truck. Then they become durable and much more rewarding. I completely understand people wanting to try it out casually. I think it's sad that it would be so rewarding if it weren't so expensive. A 1974 Dodge Charger that had been partially wrecked and sitting in a field for over a decade. The body damage was fixable, and I managed to get it running with minimal effort. So I forked over $800 and started driving it home. The guy I bought it from neglected to mention that it had a big hole in the oil pan and that he had stuffed a rag in it. So on my way home, that rag came out, and that engine exploded. So my new project car had to get towed to my house instead. Sounds like that guy is just in butthole. Such a sweet car. I impulse buy food a good bit. Back in the days of excessive COD playing, I decided the headset I had just wasn't doing it for me, and I needed a new one. So I did some research. Decided to go to GameStop and see what they had. I spotted some Turtle Beach XP 510s. I bought them. I think it ended up over $400 after taxes. I walked out to my car, put it in the back seat. Before I got in to leave, I had this sick feeling in my gut for having spent over $400 on a headset. So I returned it before I ever left, then ended up buying some as Stroth later on. Thank God. I was worried you were going to say you kept them. I have gamer themed headphones. I know they aren't as quality as music headphones, but I love the wireless. Uber Eats is a prime example of me eating with my eyes. Every time I order this huge meal and end up getting full eating less than half. This has caused me to delete the app. Got 1k in graduation money after high school, and instead of putting it towards tuition or textbooks or anything else, I bought a freaking DJ set. Never learned how to use it. If I could go back in time, I would knock myself out and buy a used Flying V. Yeah, that's clearly a much better investment. A ShamWow. I think it's actually worse at performing its intended function than any other product of its kind. I bought $250 of skincare products from one of those mall kiosks because I was 14 and too shy to tell the lady no more than once, since she kept pushing it on me and wouldn't take no for an answer. I spent the entire summer babysitting for that money, and I didn't even really use the skincare. While you might regret this and learn from it, that was beyond cruel of that lady to do this to a young kid. Beats by Dre headphones. I was making a lot of money for a high schooler and got caught up in the Beats hype train. Got a pair. They broke within the year, sent them back, broke again and again. Yep, Beats are just cheap headphones with some extra metal. I'm the part that rests on top of your head to make them feel higher quality. My gym membership. It was too expensive and I forgot to consider I'd be moving by the end of the year. You can break most gym membership contracts if you move more than a certain distance from their closest location. Look over your contract. My freaking Kirby vacuum. Given. I love it. Works great. Can shampoo my carpet whenever I want without having to rent a carpet cleaner. But I didn't realize how screwed I got on the price. I negotiated. Thought I did great. But the stupid guy just tweaked the monthly payment amount. Found out a few days later that a lot of people bought the same model, brand new, for half the price. I felt like such an idiot. I just try to remember how much I love the thing and the fact that I did try to get him to sell it for less. He just wasn't, but despite how insanely nice he was, I was disappointed to discover that a Kirby vacuum wasn't a vacuum with a Kirby, the Nintendo character, theme. $20 on World of Warcraft to change my character's name. Man, WoW stuff is such a ripoff, but they know people will pay it. My brother spent the $60 for a character boost 3 times in a row just to cancel his subscription the next month. Bought a paintball gun and 1,000 rounds of ammo to reward myself for something I've long forgotten. Used it exactly 0 times. I bought 2, used them 3 times. The bullets have an expiration date and I don't know where I can get the pressure bottles refilled. I once got $60 for my birthday. I was probably 12 or something, and since I never get money, I spent it on an infinite pass at the local fair. They're only in town for like 2 weeks out of the entire year, and the pass only works for that time they're in town. I went and then realized that I didn't like the fair, and I could have instead purchased the game all my friends owned at the time that I didn't and really wanted to play with them. My Fitbit. Now I feel like I have this passive-aggressive personal assistant on my wrist whose only redeeming quality is that it's also a watch. I'm aware that I can turn the notifications off, but some small part of me enjoys the light banter I have with myself when it keeps desperately trying to convince me to move because I've been inactive for 3 hours. Your goal is to walk 466 steps in the next hour. Your goal is to walk 250 steps in the next hour. Your goal is to walk 99 steps in the next hour. Get moving. You can do it. At least you still wear it. The Fitbit cycle at my work seems to be people get them, are evangelical about how amazing they are and going to change their lives. Going for walks at lunch, looking at heart rate and sleep minutes. Within 2 weeks you notice them not wearing it. Oh, I forgot it today. I'll bring it tomorrow. After that it is never seen again. I went crazy on eBay for some old World War II German photo albums. We're talking hundreds of dollars. I was going to do research and return them to the rightful owners. They're still sitting in my basement. You should scan them in and post them online. I've been meaning to do the same with all of my grandpa's World War II photos. Toyota Eco Sedan. I went to the dealership wanting a hatchback. I left with a sedan and a feeling in the pit of my stomach that I'd been had. Honestly, I drove one for a few years and really liked putting $15 in the tank and doing 400 miles. It was a great car for a broke butt like me. I got a really expensive pocket watch for my Mad Hatter Halloween costume that I made. I forgot to wear the watch. Steampunk costume next year with said watch. Just keep making costumes around that thing. That 6th burrito. Yet you still bought a 7th burrito. A gallon can of Hershey's chocolate sauce. It was $3.50 on a clearance aisle and I never did anything with it. It's now a paperweight on my desk and a conversation piece. Was feeling scraggly. Went to a local barber shop to get a haircut on the way home from work. Now I look like William fricking Murderface and not in a good way. Whoop, didn't see all these responses. I'll upload comparison pics when I get home, lads. What I mean, booze ain't food. I bought a used Mini Cooper S. I thought I did my homework and bought a one-owner car with a full service history and a clean Carfax. By the end of my ownership with this car, I was on a first name basis with my parts guy at Mini. The third day I had it, the header cracked and there just went $1,000. The last month I had it put brand new Conti DWS tires on it and the DSC pump crap the bed later that week, which was going to be another $1,000 for just the part. That's how bad it was. Frick that car. I sold it a month later having never fixed the DSC pump. I didn't give a crap that the dashboard looked like a Christmas tree. A few days ago during my commute I pulled up behind one of these at a stoplight. On the back window, in about 6 inches tall letters, the owner had put the words "financial mistake." Yes, all caps too. Instant laughter and terrible feeling for all the owners of them. A couple years ago there was a very similar thread where a guy said he bought a kilo of pure caffeine on Amazon. So naturally I immediately bought one for myself. Never, ever, buy a kilogram of something that is measured in milligrams. Bunch of stupid snake oil supplements and stuff that I knew were bulls. But I was so deep in an eating disorder that I was desperate enough to drop $50 that I couldn't afford on it. Get help, people. $800 Parker. I live in Southern California. I regretted spending so much money on headphones, but now that I have them I don't want to give them up. A pack of 700 various shaped googly eyes. There were a few that were big, but most were tiny. Many of them were smaller than the thickness of a standard pencil. I was gonna incorporate them into an April Fool's joke. They arrived in the mail. Ran back to my dorm room, excited to start planning my master plan. I then proceeded to open the container upside down. There were so many googly eyes everywhere that I got severely irritated and ended up sweeping them up and throwing them away. And they just silently looked up at you the whole time. That entire box of zebra cakes. You have been visited by the source Chihuahua. You will be blessed with good pasta, but only if you comment simmer well. Papa simmer well, Papa. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.